Hi, everybody. Was good. It's Zen again. Hope everyone's been great. Hope everyone's been well. I just wanted to check in. To be honest, I wanted to check in today. It's been a while, and I just didn't want to leave my page um, inactive for too long. And I actually, you know, I've been processing some stuff, as we should be. Um, this week we've had the 12/12 portal, right? There was a 12/12 portal. There was, which is really like 12/12/12/12, right? Because it's 2024. 24 is 12 twice. You know what I'm saying? So a very strong 12/12 portal, and then it was Friday the 13th. Like, I honestly, again, like, I grew up really into astrology, and as I get older, I don't watch the calendar as closely as I used to, and which I actually like. I feel like a typical Aquarius, or even like a typical air sign thing, is to always want to be informed and know so much that we're not fully allowing ourselves to enjoy the surprises and the spontaneity of life a bit, right? Because we're so clever. We want to figure everything out so bad, and it's okay. But you get what I'm trying to say. And so I was actually even like surprised that I didn't even notice. But anyway, so yeah, we had the 12/12, Friday the 13th, and then tomorrow's a full moon. It's Sag season. It's Sag season, so we have the full moon in Gemini. Speaking of air signs and wanting to figure things out, right? And it's interesting because I know I've been having some interesting run-ins over the past couple of years, especially with these three signs, with like this Gemini Leo combination, but also this like Sag Scorpio combination, right? Which is also in my birth chart. Is I do have two Sag and Scorpio placement, which I really enjoy. Um, one thing I've been processing is I think I like fire now, right? I feel like that was one of the signs that I feel like that was one of the elements, the element of fire. I feel like we tend to associate fire with violence and pain, right? And scary situations. And for a lot of years, I thought of myself as being kind of like afraid of my fire in a way. And then, fast forward a couple years after that, I'm actually looking at my hair right now because it's so frizzy from me wearing hats every day. I wanted to let my head breathe today. I see I'm all over the place. Maybe it's that Gemini energy. I'm gonna keep rolling, but and maybe even the combination, right? Because both these signs can be all over the place sometimes. But yeah, I think I like this. I think fire has become my favorite element. I find myself looking forward to fire seasons, and also find myself like planning for them, so to speak. So if I'm in a watery season, my brain will automatically say, okay, I'm gonna process things, I'm gonna create things, and then in the fiery season, that's when I'm gonna show it, right? When I think of fire, I'm now also thinking of light and passion and the heart chakra, right? Leo's a fire sign, and Leo's the heart chakra, right? It's the heart and the heart chakra. And then I was thinking about, like I said, I've been having these interesting run-ins with like Gemini Sag combination, Gemini Leo combination, as well as Scorpio Sag combination, right? And so, long story short, like putting that all together, right? I actually feel like Gemini and Scorpio already has kind of like a bad rep at being like not the easiest sign to deal with. I feel like Scorpio more so because they're all. I'm sorry, Scorpios, but it's in my eyes, every Scorpio wears their heart on their sleeve. and you just try to put on another sleeve on top of it, and it's just like, we know you feel things. You don't gotta pretend anymore. But, that's another conversation. And then I guess I feel like Geminis are kind of pegged as being hard to grasp because they're so all over the place. And I also feel like we live in a world that wants us to choose a box so much that that just doesn't work for everyone, including Geminis. They're the twins. They're supposed to be multifaceted. Tupac being a lot of people's favorite Gemini. It's like, why can't I be all this? Why can't I be all of this? And then I think about that Sag-Leo combination, right? It's fire, again, fire, passion. I guess comparatively speaking, to me, Leo is like a fun campfire, while Sag is like a house fire. That sounds dramatic, but yeah, I mean, I'm keeping, the conversation light and simple. We're trying to keep the conversation light and simple right now because I don't, I'm just, and so, right, so there is, yeah, right, so when I think of Leo, I think of like campfire, and then when I think of Sagittarius, I think of a house fire. It's a scarier fire. I feel like even Sagittarius a lot of times don't really appreciate being Sag. I feel like they appreciate the parts that's on the surface. Like, we're fun, we're the life of the party, we're the travelers, we're the gurus. And I feel like a lot of Sages like playing the character sometimes and is not really going deep with it, right? It's kind of like, yeah, we're the gurus of the zodiac, but at the same time constantly questioning your own intuition and like looking for answers in all the wrong places, so to speak. While at the same time you are really good at research and can find some answers, if that makes sense. And so I don't know, I guess I'm adding all that up. Of course, the cat's walking by me. That's been happening a lot too this last, I would say, like 2 weeks, maybe 3. This time it just happened to not be a black cat, but black cats have been crossing my paths a lot. At least once a week, the last 3 weeks, a black cat crossed my path. And then a friend of mine told me that orange cats are good luck, and that was a white, I guess it's more like white with orange spots. White with orange spots. And so it's like orange is good luck, white tends to represent like purity, faith. So I guess that's a lot of what I've been processing. I don't know if this makes sense to anybody. Maybe just me. These videos might actually just be for me to watch back later. I don't know. I am a Leo rising, so sometimes I actually like looking at myself. Sometimes I actually like it. And I also took the cat walking by to be just like a confirmation of the good things that's coming into our lives. I'm saying because I actually get the feeling that like this page will be a lot more active later, and people might want to scroll back and see this and be like, I was processing that same thing at the time, and I get that. Okay, right? Because, right, as an Aquarius, we tend to be ahead of our time. And it's like I'm playing with the cards, but I'm not really doing a card reading. So like part of me is really kind of a fidget, and it gives me something to do with my hands, and then I might actually just pick one or two after I've said what I've been processing. And so yeah, so one of the things I've been trying, so I think fire is my favorite sign. I think fire is my new favorite sign. I think fire is my new favorite element, probably because I realized I wasn't really afraid of it, right? like I said, I'm gonna reiterate. For a couple of years, I thought I was afraid of fire. I went, just so happened to come to a lump sum of money, because that happens every now and again, and I went on this 5-day retreat, and this is of a different tradition. I don't want to get into it. This is of a different tradition, an African tradition, and in this particular tradition, they recognize 5 elements, nature being the 5th. It's like they name nature as its own element. Although, yes, it is kind of, and it can be considered under the umbrella of Earth, but nature, it made sense to me when they were explaining it. And so I went to this 5-day retreat, and because in my mind, and when I was signing up and I was paying for it and I was going there, I was coming from this place of, I need to, repair my relationship to fire, because I thought I was afraid of the fire. And each day is dedicated to a different element. And long story short, I wasn't I wasn't afraid of the fire. In fact, in this tradition, I am a fire sign, right? We're so conditioned and used to this Western astrology, we forget that our ancestors aren't Western, right? whatever that means. And then that puts me in mind of a quote that goes, remember that which we fear we are, something like that. And so I'm like, wow, I am a fire sign, and in doing this ritual, I realized I wasn't necessarily feeling fear. And then I might have been associating fire with pain, because I'm not going to break down the whole ritual, but there was pain involved. And in retrospect, it was like, okay, I'm associating fire with pain, and it's causing me to not spend more time in it. And then I met this very magical person sometime, and I remember they allowed me to look into their birth chart, and I saw that they were like 5 times fire. Literally had like 5 Sag placements and like a Leo placement, like hella fire. And I remember saying something to them like, I said you're probably thinking of yourself as like someone who can control fire, because I can see that they have kind of a control issue, right? I feel like they were thinking of themselves as needing to control fire, which made me think of like the X-Men character Pyro, right? He can control fire, but he just can't create fire, right? He needs a fire source, which also puts me in mind of like the Avatar, right? There needs to be a fire for them to tap into. So they need an existing fire to pull on, right? And I was like, whoa. I said, you might be thinking of yourself as a pyro. I said, but what I see is really a potential for like you being like Johnny Blaze. That's his name, right? Johnny Blaze. Flame On guy, right? The Fantastic Four guy. I'm like, long story short, there was a fire source there that just didn't believe they had. And I'm like, you could, face, kind of maybe get over yourself. Maybe face whatever fear and get over yourself and allow that fire to consume you. And then you realize that you just, it didn't hurt, and you are fire, and and you can fly. There's another superhero character I was thinking of recently too. I was watching Black Lightning recently, and the youngest daughter, which I thought was fascinating, right? Like Black Lightning, he can control electricity. He can control electricity, he just can't generate it, right? So there needs to be an outside source. There needs to be a source of electricity for him to pull. And his youngest daughter literally came out in so many ways like an upgrade of him, whereas she can generate. Not only can she generate energy, but she can power him up. And if you ask me, that part was super amazing. And then, of course, she learned that she could fly. So I'm like, that's fascinating. It took me maybe to just now to associate fire with flight, fire with electricity. Because it's funny, because I did consider myself to be kind of very electric. I actually have a really, I guess, high voltage. And then realizing, then like putting together this concept of like, I am the fire, right? Then I'm also thinking about the Sag-Leo combination of like Leo being fire, being heart, being passion, and Gemini being Mercury, communication, even in business, right? Like the marketing aspect, the marketing and the PR type work is very Gemini type. It's very Gemini-like energy, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool, right? I feel like this full moon is actually bringing me to this like final conclusion that it's okay to allow myself to be so consumed in this passion of mine, and then like when it's consumed me, I'll fly. And it took me a while to get to that. See, I was literally just shuffling, and the sun card just popped out of my hand, right? And then, okay, I confess, I did pull like 4 cards before I started. And this devil card was literally the first card that came out. And it's funny because I was thinking about the reading I did a couple months back. Where I said something I'm going to repeat a lot. And somebody's going to make a meme about it and pretend like they came up with it, and that's fine. But who is the devil in an illusion? I feel like sometimes it's like we talk about the Matrix, and we talk about life being an illusion, and we talk about living in an illusion. And I also feel like that's also what's happening with this Gemini Sag combination, right? Because Gemini is also air, right? Air is clarity. Gemini is duality, right? And so, and then when you think of fire, think of smoke, right? Smoke and mirrors, right? And so I feel like a lot of veils are coming up. I feel like we are multifaceted people, and that can sometimes, I don't want to say lead to like it was your fault, but being such a multifaceted person, long story short, I've dealt with a lot of misunderstanding. I dealt with a lot of people misunderstanding me, making a lot of assumptions about me, even telling whole lies, telling themselves lies, and then telling everyone else lies. And I process my reality rather than just react to it. And so I feel like a lot of us are going to be dealing with a lot of veils being lifted, right? So I feel like a lot of truths are coming to light. I feel like a lot of the smoke is clearing, right? Gemini is air, and like I said, Sag is fire. Fire causes smoke. And once everything that could be consumed is consumed, the fire can only burn but so long, right? That's the one thing about fire. It needs something to consume. It needs something to burn. And in fact, I've been burning red candles lately, right? And these are like cheap 99-cent store candles, and sometimes you can see like the wick will run out. And cause I actually like to pile them up. I like to like burn a candle, and then you end up with that little pile of goo, and then I'll put another candle on top of that, and that'll melt into another goo. So I end up with this pile of goo, which is actually really cool. And then I thought to myself, like, what if I made my own wick? So I literally like took the scissor, poked a hole in it, and I cut up a piece of t-shirt. I cut up a piece off of an old t-shirt, and I shoved it down in there, and then I lit it up, right? It's like, I'm like, all these years I've been playing with fire, and I never thought to do that. So like, I don't know, you might be feeling inventive. You might be feeling creative. You might be having ideas you haven't had before. Or you might be realizing there are, like, I don't know, more fun or even simpler ways to go about doing what you've been doing. And so I feel like it's twofold, right, happening, where veils are being lifted about you, and your veils are being lifted about yourself, and maybe even about life, even about processes, even about that thing, right? There's always a thing that happened in our past there's always a thing that happened in the past, like, that could give us a reason to be resentful, hang on to some resentful and some regret. My sister actually brought up something that happened, mind you, to me. It's funny how I feel like one of the, with all due respect, I love my family, but I feel like one of the downsides to family is, I feel like there's this assumption that they're getting to know you because you're, like, live together. Or, like, you know what I mean? There's this assumption that they can easily figure you out, or that they have you figured out, because you live together, and then you can have this whole, you can be this multifaceted person in the world. You know what I mean? Like, who you are at home ain't necessarily who you are in the world. And, like, families are completely blinded to who you are in the world until you become famous or something. And even then, it probably doesn't register. And I know I'm bouncing around all over the place, but whatever. I tell you, this Gemini Sag season, we're bouncing around all over the place. It is what it is. It's how I am, right? I'm a fire. And am I all over the place? Really? Is it just me being myself and knowing that there are people in the world who can follow? Right? It's great. And so fire, air, smoke is clearing, veils are lifting, clarity is coming in, because fire is also light. Light is how we see what's in the dark. We turn on some light. Oh, what I was actually starting to say was, fire needs something to consume. Fire needs something to consume. So if this house is on fire, the fire, as long as there's nothing around it, the fire will burn until it's burned everything it could possibly burn. And then when there's nothing else to burn, it just kind of fizzles itself out. The fire will actually put itself out after a while because there's nothing else to consume. And then you have the smoke, right? And then after a while, the smoke clears. And so I feel like many of us might be experiencing that part where the smoke is clearing, right? We're still in the middle of Sag season, and right after Sag is Capricorn season. And so I kind of feel like by the time we get to Aquarius season, a lot more will be clear, right? Because now you dealing with the aftermath of the fire. Now you're gonna go through stuff, right? Like, that's kind of the Capricorn thing to do, right? Let's go through things and see what's still salvageable. Let's go through things and see what maybe didn't burn. And that happens sometimes. You luck out and this thing was under that thing, and the firefighters got there in time that it didn't literally burn everything. It happens. And so, right, that's the typical Capricorn thing to do. Let's go through all the rubbish and see what we got left, see what might be salvageable. And I kind of feel like that might be a combination of, like, Capricorn Aquarius energy is actually finding things, actually finding more than you thought you were going to find in that fire. Maybe even finding one thing that has amazing value. Maybe you find the diamond ring that was passed down to you for 4 generations, and now you can sell it and buy a new house. Maybe there was a gadget that you invented, and that was the only thing that didn't burn for whatever reason, and and you use part of the insurance money to pay for the patent, and now, right? And so I guess if I was going to give some advice, it's kind of like, if it burned, it was just wasn't meant to go into that next chapter, and whatever was salvageable is what you were meant to take, and that's okay. If there's any advice in that, I'm honestly just rambling, and I don't want to start over. And it's too cold. It's too cold outside. I'm sitting outside, and it's getting cold. I don't want to start over. Oh yeah, this devil card, right? And so yeah, it brings me back to this devil card. It brought me back to this devil card, right? Because the devil is also associated with fire. And then, like, I've seen memes online that say things like, when the devil can't reach you, he sends an Aquarius. They usually say that about Aquarius or Scorpio, right? And by folks' luck, right, I'm an Aquarius with a Scorpio placement. So you get a little bit of both here, y'all. You get a lot of Aquarius and a little bit of Scorpio. But and then I had an encounter with a Sag, and the magical Sag that I said really, wants to be Pyro, but really is Johnny Blaze. And I guess we could say, long story short, maybe they wasn't so kind to me. However, Spirit guided me to stay kind in that exchange anyway, right? That was the instruction. It's interesting how, people, I feel like a lot of times people live in a TV show in their head. And like, you're just another character sometimes. I feel like that makes sense. Like, people live in a TV show in their head, and then you're a character, and when you go off script, then they're just like, what? But anyway, the person wasn't kind, and I honestly hope, if nothing else, that they learned their lesson and they were able to, how can I say, come out of the situation with as little karma as possible. But what I appreciate about them coming into my life, and what I recognized them for, was they were a Sag, right? They were a fire. They were meant to come into my life, and through their unkind or behavior, I'm just going to say unkind behavior, was actually just burning away what was not meant for me anyway, right? It's that person that you invite over to the house, and they're being nice, but they're low-key a hater, and then they kind of accidentally, on purpose, knocked the candle over and started the fire. Right? And then they went home and laughed about it. But you knew when they walked through the front door that this was the beginning of the end for you. And you just, you let whatever happened needed to happen. And then again, fast forward to the part after the fire where you're going through your stuff. Say one of the walls that burned down, you didn't realize there was money hiding behind it. Right? Say something like that happens. Like, say there's a secret room in a basement of the house, and you had no idea all these years, and because of the fire, it was exposed. And then you open the chest, and it's jewels and jewelry and stuff like that passed down to you for 10 generations, and is worth 10 times the house that was burned, right? And so I'm saying a lot at the same time, and I again, it's cold, I'm not starting over, and so, right, sometimes the devil sometimes we get so caught up in judging and judgment and labeling people, and forgetting that life is an illusion. Life is an illusion. And again, one of the things I said was, who is the devil in an illusion? It's an illusion. We don't know. Like, if everything is turned, if everything is upside down and backwards, why be so quick to label to judge a book by its cover? I actually posted a meme once that said, I noticed nobody says don't judge a book by its cover anymore, right? And it was like cricket, because it's true. We're judging books by their cover again, and then people get mad at the issues that they brought into their lives. We have that saying for a reason. The other card that came out was this Seven of Cups, right? This was the second card that came out, and it actually came out in the reverse. I'm gonna show it to you upright, right? And so it's like, and I mean, the other interpretation for this could be like, there was once a devil in your life that kind of turned stuff upside down. Or again, like, if you're not looking at the world, it emphasizes what I just said. Who is the devil? Who is the devil in an illusion, right? And so if the world is upside down, and upside down is actually the right side up, and I turn this around the right way, then it's you're up and this person is upside down, right? And so right? So this is why it's this large reason. There's so many reasons why it's not good to judge. It's not good to judge yourself. It's not good to judge others. I really don't understand what the payoff is. There's no long-term payoff for that. Maybe short-term at best. And then, like, if you're only focus on the short term, then you're in survival mode. And only thing folks have to do is be more patient than you, right? But anyway, right? So I'm like, right side up, upside down, right side up. Which way is up? I don't know, right? Stop comparing. Stop comparing, right? This person was comparing themselves to this person. They would say, oh my God, I'm upside down and they're upright, and what's wrong with me? You remember, you're your own universe. You're your own universe. You're your own world. You're your own earth. And even if it were true that the earth was flat, it's okay to draw on the metaphors and the meanings. It's okay. And so if you're your own earth, then you revolve. You revolve anyway. And if you're patient enough, summertime comes around again anyway. Right? I mean, that's what it usually happens every year. We get a summertime, and so, yeah, my hair's all over the place. Whatever. My head needed to breathe. I put a hat on after this. And so, yeah, see, there's that. I don't want to get too much into cards. I've been talking for 30 minutes now. And, again, a lot of times I'm just feeling fidgety and playing around. See, okay, I just picked up the deck. And this is the one that was this Empress card. And I like this Empress card because, what is that? She's giving birth to her own world, right? Because you're a person, you're your own universe, you're your own world, and she's her own world, and that baby it's their own world. I don't know, one thing I never really paid a whole lot of attention to was this part. Actually, I think I assumed that was an outfit this whole time. This right here looks like there's water being splashed on her. Actually, it looks like water being splashed on her, and there's this moon up here. Excuse me. And so, pardon me. But, yeah, what I just said, card depiction. It's interesting because right under this sun card, without even shuffling, was this Emperor. Emperor, Empress, right? That's our duality. We all have masculine and feminine energies, right? I'm sorry, cis straight people. I'm sorry. But I feel like y'all keep confusing yourselves by trying to make old-fashioned concepts keep fitting. Oh, the feminine energy and the masculine energy. Are you talking about men and women? Because that's not the same thing. Everybody has masculine and feminine energy. Everybody has testosterone and estrogen in their bodies, y'all. Do you have a brain and a heart? Because it's okay for them to work together, right? If you can't be a good team player with yourself, how are you going to be a good team player with someone else, right? That concept of, oh, this is my better half. Hey, have you seen my other half? Like, these are sayings. These are sayings that probably come from love songs. And you're not a half. You're a whole. You're masculine and feminine. You're the emperor and the empress. What's funny is, like, right after that is the Ace of Wands. I didn't want to do a whole... I did not want to do a whole reading, but it's the Ace of Wands. The Sun card was on top of that. That's fire. That's fire on top of fire. There's fire beneath this and fire on top of it, right? So, yeah, it's like, I guess me coming to those conclusions, in reference to myself, it's like coming to all those conclusions and processing things and blah, blah, blah. I'm balancing out my energies. Like, I'm balancing things out. Balancing things out and allowing myself to be consumed in the fires. In the fires, right? This fire was on top, this fire was on the bottom. I allow myself to be consumed with the fires. The fires. I guess the last few things I'll add about Sagittarius fire, just because I feel like this is not talked about enough. Quite frankly, I feel like a lot of us are still just, we read the textbook, we read the books, we read the astrology books years ago, and then just keep reiterating the same thing we read. Like, I'm just saying we, because I've done it. But when you go a little bit deeper, Sag, right, it's like there's 1, 2, 3 tiers. There's tiers. What I mean by that is Aries is like the youngest. It's like a baby fire sign. Leo might be considered a teenage fire sign, and Sag would be considered the old fires, like beginning, middle, and end. Young, middle, and old. And so Leo energy is also kind of like, it's okay to have fun and be young, be as young as, because I don't look my age. I never did, but probably never will. But sometimes I be feeling my age and forgetting that, it's okay to go out and play. I have a skateboard and I can still ride it every now and again when I feel myself feeling like stagnated and whatnot. I'll go outside and play. But when I think of Sag fire, Sag is fire is a gateway. Fire is a gateway to the ancestors. Fire is a gateway to the ancestors. That's why I feel like that's why this card came up as well, right? That's that third eye awakening type stuff. Your third eye, your intuition, your heart. These are also your connections to spirit. I feel like your intuition, how I used to conceptualize it when I was learning it back in the days, is right? You have a physical body, you have a spirit body, you have an emotional body. You have an emotional body, you have a spirit body. I always thought of it as the emotional body being a bridge between the physical body and the spiritual body. Right? That's why we say things like, I sense this, I sense that. I needed to feel to sense. Hence this Empress card and the water, the feeling, and fact, all right, so Emperor is holding a chess piece. That's fascinating. Okay. And so often, I feel like it's part of the reason why Sag on paper is viewed as like the self-righteous one. To be honest with you, Sag is the kind of like the stereotypical Sag things to do is to be a reverend or a pastor, to be honest. They can actually go, I feel like a Sag can go to one extreme or the other, or they can go from one extreme to the other. So I'm like, imagine like, and I'm definitely sex worker friendly when I say this, because to me it's all one and the same. But somebody who was once a sex worker and later decide they want to be a nun, and then I'm not going to explain to you how I feel like it's one and the same. I'll save that for another video. But they tend to be extremists, and when they do something, they do it they want to do it all the way. They want to be fully dedicated to it. They want to be fully enthralled in it. If you ever seen a Sagittarius be into someone, it's like their whole world actually really revolves around that person, while at the same time they're really self-centered and want the rest of the world to revolve around them, right? It's so interesting about Sag energy. Right? I think I just put it perfectly, actually. But but I feel like they're as much the sex worker as they are the priest, the pastor, as they are I feel like the kind of person that writes books like Eat, Pray, Love. They can low-key be that person sometimes too, especially the part about writing and actually selling the book and making money off of it. It's like, I'm not just going to be out here telling people my story just because. I'm going to put it in a book and I'm going to sell the book. And I'm going to make the money so I can go on more trips, right? I feel like that's more Sag energy. And so, right. So yeah, I feel like fire is a gateway to the ancestors. And I feel like in so many ways it's like the final stage. It puts me in mind of like when you're playing a video game and like you go through all these bad guys, whatever, all these monsters and things, and then there's a final boss. I feel like that Sag energy has like final boss vibes too. It's like getting through that ancient fire. Oh, they're also very magical. I feel like they're ruled by the centaur. They're ruled by a centaur, right? Half man, half horse for a reason. They're otherworldly, right? Hence, fire being a gateway to the spirit realm, which is another world. And many of us, I am one of those people. I do believe centaurs exist and maybe have existed. Dragons exist and have existed. And I do feel like because of how this world is, they left. I think it's just we couldn't handle that reality. And then, the quote-unquote powers that be, the makers of the Matrix, they don't want us to think of ourselves as magical. So for all we know, they banned them away from here. Maybe they killed them all. Like, we're gonna pretend like that's not a thing. Let's not do that. I doubt that they could, but I'm just making a point. There's all kinds of things that exist in the world. Oh, and back to the water reference, when you really, really think about it, the ocean is a whole world in and of itself. It's another realm altogether. We are discovering creatures in this ocean to this day that we never knew existed. And like, I don't know how that's not more fascinating for people. When I was a kid, considering being an astronaut, like typical Aquarius fashion. I even also considered being an aquanaut. I'm like, that's another option because the ocean is also another world, and it was just kind of like, do I want to be in an ocean? But then I'm like, I don't know. I actually think it might be possible that space is an ocean. I don't know, right? It probably would have been good either way. But I'm a different kind of explorer, and it's, it's okay. It's okay. I'm a different kind of explorer, and I'm doing all right. I'm actually doing pretty great. I feel like it makes sense to somebody. Definitely, definitely nice. I feel like this is a nice video for me to watch later. Maybe like, about 2 months from now. Because like I said, that's the street lights coming on. Street lights on, I gotta go home. I'm just kidding. Yeah, right? So let the veils be lifted. And it's okay to be a little upset about whatever. It's okay that thing happened. It's okay that fire happened. So that's the other part about the fire analogy, right? You let that person in the house, they started a fire by accident on purpose. And then it turns out, it's you found some money in the house, or maybe the house was worth 4 times more than you thought, and you got way more insurance than you thought, and you was able to take that money and move. Maybe it was just time to go, right? And so I forgot where I was going. Because you know what it is, we're in Sag season, and my brain already wants to jump to Aquarius season, and Spirit said don't. And so they're like, no, stay right where you are. You're doing great in the fire. You're in the fire, being consumed by fire, being consumed by water, being consumed by earth. It's such a fascinating thing. Allow yourself to be consumed by all these elements, because you are all these elements. Ashes to ashes, right? Oh, right. And so the veil is lifting. The thing happened, right? There was a fire. The house burned. And so, are you still? And these are like real good, like just general guiding questions, right? So it's like, are you still holding on to resentment for that fire? Are you still holding on to resentment for that person? Are you still holding on to resentment? Are you still saying to yourself, damn it, I shouldn't have let that person in the house? Right? Do you find yourself still doing that? These are things that need to be processed out, right? It's a full moon. Full moon wants you to process it out. I'm also thinking about fire as in burning bridges, right? Burn the bridge to the past. Shift the perspective and then burn the bridge, right? Like I said, my sister, she brought up something that happened to me years ago, even though she doesn't know the whole story, right? And so she just kept saying, well, I assume this, and I assume that, and I assume this. Like, come on, reality of that assumption is a guess. You're guessing. And it's okay to guess, but why also assume that you're guessing correctly all the time if you're always guessing? There's such thing as investigating, and there's such thing as asking questions. And so I finally got upset enough to be like, if you stop cutting me off, I'll tell you what happened. And then once I fill in a few of the blanks, I still didn't tell her everything, because I'm not sure they can handle the truth. To be honest with you, again, maybe that's me judging. But anyway, I just don't like to go into everything spontaneously. If somebody wants to have a sit-down discussion, then we can do that in a more organized fashion, rather than you feel like you need to pluck a nerve. I also sometimes can feel it. I can feel the other person needs to emote, and so sometimes I'll emote for the both of our sake, because I'm like, this person needs to emote. They're not letting it out, and so they're plucking my strings so that I can emote on their behalf. A lot of people, again, on the surface, they don't realize that's what's happening, but that's what's happening. So I say, okay, stop cutting me off for 5 seconds, And I can tell you, so I filled them in on a few things, and just that one or two more bits of information is kind of like, oh, of course, there's nothing you can say now. Like, oh, it didn't go the way you thought it went when you were assuming. Again, assumption isn't investigating, it's not studying, it's not research, right? Assumption is not research. If you're going to do the research, then do the research. If you want to find the information, then find the information. If you're going to have your assumption, then also be okay with being wrong. Okay? I can accept being wrong if I know I made an assumption. Like, it's an assumption. I don't know. Right? So, but that was the moment I realized they were hanging on. It's like it's almost like they were hanging on to a resentment towards me for not handling a certain situation better that I didn't even want to be in and just wanted to get out of, right? And so people say things like, "Oh, you dropped the ball." So I guess what I'm making a point about perspectives, right? And I am wrapping it up. I am paying attention to the time. I'm trying not to go over an hour. I feel like 1 hour is fair. And it didn't occur to me that they were hanging on to resentment towards me for not handling a situation the way they thought it should be handled. And while at the same time, I had processed a lot of that. Like, I went through my own resentment of wishing other people handled me better, or other people handled the situation differently. And when you're, the weird one, the different one, right? The one that stands out. That's what you're really trying to say. When you stand out the most, you're also the first person people see when they're looking for someone to blame, right? Or looking for something to blame. And even though I'm not the only person involved in this situation, everyone can just kind of like hide behind. Everyone can just kind of hide behind their assumed innocence and hide behind my assumed guilt in a certain situation. And then, then people say things like, "Oh, you dropped the ball." And that's one perspective. It's like, or I stopped in the middle of the game and realized this is BS. This is BS, and I don't have to do this. And I threw the ball over my shoulder and walked out the field. Like, that's another perspective, right? So all I'm getting at is kind of like, what it showed me is that, maybe I've got some more shifting to do. And I didn't realize how much my family was hanging on to certain perspectives and certain assumptions, because no one's actually asked me anything. So I'm just going to call them all assumptions. Until somebody asks me something, all you have are guesses and assumptions, quite frankly. And so I'm like, dang, like, people are really hanging on to these assumptions. But that's what I'm getting at. It's kind of like, these are good review questions for like the full moon, right? So it's like, what perspectives of the past am I hanging on to? Am I still hanging on to resentment? Am I still not understanding that fire happened for a reason? That loss happened for a reason? Am I still not understanding that even the part where I'm blamed, like, that is serving a larger purpose, right? It's not just random, these are not just random happenings. These are life happenings for the point of life lessons, right? And so I feel like Spirit is also encouraging me to say, like, do you get it yet? Like, do you get it now? Are you seeing it, right? Because the smoke is clearing. And they're just like, are you seeing why we let that happen? Are you seeing why we allow that person in your house to accidentally, on purpose, knock over that candle and start the fire? Do you see now why you were rejected by those folks over there? Do you see now why, right? Do you see now? And go through that truth. Go through that truth to the other side, right? There's earth on the other side. Capricorn's on the other side. You go through that fire and you'll find more lands. Think of fire as a gateway. And we tend to not think of the word truth as its own gateway. accepting the truth is the greatest shift, really, if you ask. One of the best. It's just I honestly just don't spend any time in denial at all. I'm just like, why do I even need that? It is what it is, or it's not what it's not. Even though, again, a lot of people say it is what it is, but without actually seeing the situation clearly. So it's like, are you seeing it clearly now? Right? Are you starting to at least, and or at the least be prepared for it? Right? So if anything, Spirit might be saying to y'all, like, are you ready? Have you processed? It's like food, right? It's like, did you chew your food? Did you chew your food before you put more? It's kind of like Spirit might actually have more information, more clarity for you. So it's like, did you process that yet? Because we got some more veils to lift, more than you probably even realize. And we got more clarity for you that you probably wasn't even ready for, right? It's like, there wouldn't even be such thing as faith and miracles if we could always see everything coming, right? So, right, yeah, full moon, Sag, yeah. So this is great, and then you should. Yeah, through, and you know what, I'm thinking about the word truth. I actually just started thinking about the word truth. How there's two T's. It's two T's. If I put two T's together, it can actually look like a doorway. That's fun. But yeah, it's like, process that past, because there's gonna be more truth. And when you get to on the other end of this fire is earth. You'll feel more grounded. You'll feel more grounded when you've accepted that truth too, right? So it's like, if there's some truth you're having a hard time processing, and then maybe why? Like, what is? Can the truth just be true? Can it just be true? So that we can give you more information. I think Spirit wants to actually give you more information. I'm feeling that. Yeah, I'm actually feeling by Aquarius season, in some way there'll be flight. Oh, also, yeah, like, because the fire and air, when you bring fire and air together, you get more fire. Like, right? Which I like. That's why I said I realized I actually like fire. I think it's my new favorite sign. I think it's my new favorite element. But yeah, okay. Alright, that's it. I think I've chatted enough. I think I've done enough. Alright, it's been great. It's been real. And again, just process what you gotta process, man. Process what you gotta process, y'all. Process what you gotta process, so that you can actually feel grounded during Capricorn season. Right? Because it doesn't have to go that way. If you don't allow it to, allow it to. Alright, y'all. Hope you enjoy your holidays, for those who celebrate the holidays. Yeah, thanks. Thank you.